My friend, have you ever felt so alone as though God is not with you? Are you going through a spiritual drought? Do you feel like God is not hearing your prayer or worship? This sensation of barren faith, of being stuck in a perpetual dry spell, is more common than you might think. It's a season where you feel distant from God, where joy and peace seem elusive. It's like living in a city where it's always raining, but somehow your zip code is always dry. In such times, it's important to remember that you're not alone. We all experience these spiritual droughts. It's a struggle, a spiritual war, where our thoughts are the battlefield. As 2 Corinthians 10 verses 3-6 says, we don't wage this war with worldly weapons, but with the power of God. We're called to demolish every argument and pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God and take captive every thought. Remember, you are not alone in this struggle. Many have walked this path before you. Please remember to like, share and subscribe to our channel. The Bible is full of examples of spiritual drought. Let's delve into the experiences of Elijah, David and Peter. Elijah, a prophet of God, faced both physical and spiritual drought. He sat by the brook of Cherith, watching it dry up due to lack of rain, a stark metaphor for his spiritual state. Later, under threat from Jezebel, he fled and hid in a cave. He felt alone and endangered, echoing the isolation one might feel during spiritual drought. But in both instances, God was there, providing and questioning, reminding Elijah of his divine purpose. Then we have David. He too faced spiritual droughts, often while being pursued by Saul. His fear and desperation led him to cry out to God. He penned many psalms during these times, one of which, Psalm 51 verses 10-12, beautifully captures his plea for spiritual renewal. He asks God to create a clean heart within him and to restore the joy of salvation. This shows us that even in the midst of despair, we can ask God for renewal. Lastly, let's look at Peter. He experienced a profound spiritual drought after denying Jesus 3 times. Overcome by guilt and regret, he returned to his old life. But this spiritual drought was not the end for Peter. Jesus had told him before, Satan has desired to sift you as wheat, but I have prayed for you that your faith may not fail, and when you have turned back, strengthen your brothers. This was a promise of restoration, a promise that spiritual droughts, while challenging, do not signify the end of our faith journey. These stories show us that spiritual droughts are part of the journey, but they also show us that renewal and reconnection are possible. Despite their struggles, Elijah, David and Peter found their way back to God. Their stories serve as examples and hope for us, a reminder that even in the midst of a spiritual drought, we are never truly alone. God is always there, offering sustenance, posing questions and promising restoration. So how do we navigate through a spiritual drought? Well, let's draw from the well of wisdom that our biblical figures have left for us. Recognizing the drought is the first step. Acknowledge that you are in a spiritually dry place, just like Elijah, David, Peter and Job did. It's okay, it's part of the journey. Next, lean on the Word of God. The Bible is our divine guide, a compass pointing us towards spiritual hydration. It's filled with verses that can uplift us and rekindle our faith during these dry spells. And then seek spiritual renewal through prayer and obedience. Pray fervently, just like David did in Psalm 51. Be obedient to God's commands, like Peter, who after his spiritual drought strengthened his brethren. These actions draw us closer to God and help us to weather the drought. In the midst of your spiritual drought, remember this: God is with you, guiding you and ready to renew your spirit. Trust in Him, lean on His word and let His love reignite your faith. Please remember to like, share and subscribe to our channel.